Hello everyone and welcome to Education Checkup. I'm Johnette Magner. We're a weekly podcast here at KTVS and we cover what is happening in education in Northwest Louisiana. I'm joined today by my co-host and dear friend, Dr. Phillip Rozeman. He is a cardiologist by day, but every now and then he sneaks over here and works with us because he's a champion of education in Louisiana. He's past chairman of Blueprint Louisiana and a recipient of the Bob Ham Lifetime Distinguished Service Award from the Council for a Better Louisiana. And welcome, Dr. Rozeman. Introduce our guest, please.
Thank you. We have Angie Pellerin here today. By the way, Angie, I'm a graduate of LSU Shreveport.
I have heard.
And
me too.
Yeah.
That's where I got a master's degree.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So we're all LSU Shreveport people here today.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about LSU Shreveport and what's going on there. I mean, there's some really exciting things happening. I'm sit on the foundation board, so I know a lot of these things. And we want our audience to know what's happening at their school here, public school here in Shreveport with LSU Shreveport. But I loved I got to tell you, I loved your quote that you have on your email. One of the secrets of life is to make stepping stones out of stumbling blocks. And I think that seems to be what your job is at LSU Shreveport. Could you, the other thing that comes up a lot is about college experience and where people go to have a college experience. And the question is, can you get a great college experience at a place like LSU Shreveport in a metro university? I think the answer is yes, and so let's just explore that a little bit.
Wow, that's a big question.
Yeah, about the college experience, and what happens here as far as retaining students and giving them an experience that want them to stay here in Shreveport.
Certainly. Well, as a regional comprehensive university, we serve a particular type of student. Although students come from all over, many of our students are working students in our region. They may live at home, choose to live at home, and want to get an education. Maybe they don't have the ability or opportunity to move off to go to a bigger residential campus. So we really have a commitment to providing a quality education to help students succeed in whatever their goals may be. And many of those goals are related to career, to be able to go into the workforce and feel confident about that you're going to get a good job. Economic mobility, really moving our students out of an economic bracket into one that they really hope to be in and to support their families with.
Yeah, I know I've said this on this show before, but my situation was that I needed to be able to come to a place that I could stay at home because I couldn't afford to go to a residential college. And the scholarships and everything that came with being with LSUS. And it was my experience was one of, it very much was in tune with getting to the career, which in my case was a physician career. But I mean, that's really what was done at LSUS, and I think that's a strong statement for the university.
And really, today's students are very different and we opened in 1967, so it's not that long ago, but today's students have a lot more barriers, a lot more obligations. And so we have to be aware of that and provide the resources to them to be able to be successful in school and in life and to balance those things. So that's really dependent on us.
Let's talk about those barriers because I don't think we all realize that as we've gotten older, how much more barriers are there for students of today. So what do you see commonly and what do y'all do about solutions for some of those barriers?
Well, there's a lot of internal ones and a lot of external ones. So external's kind of an easier one to see for our students. Many of our students work over 30 hours a week. And so the recommended number of hours to work to truly focus on school is around 12 to 15. Some of them are supporting families, their family members or their own children even, paying the rent, doing all the things that life requires. And they generally are full-time students because they're required to be full-time to have certain scholarships like TOPS, for example. Yeah. So they don't even necessarily have the option of being part-time unless they don't want to have those scholarship opportunities too.
Yeah. Well, talk about that a little bit about TOPS and its, what it does as far as attracting students and how y'all work with TOPS and additions to TOPS at LSUS.
There are a lot of scholarships in addition to TOPS, but TOPS has various tiers. So depending on a high school GPA, if a student graduated from a Louisiana high school with a certain GPA, they are able to get their tuition fully paid, or at least in some degree. There's a ratio there depending on their GPA. Maybe their ACT scores kind of factor into that as well. I'm not the financial aid department, so I can probably talk to them about that. But it does require them to be at least full-time, so minimum of 12 hours per semester. And it also requires them to complete and pass 24 credits, to earn 24 credits in that first year. So if a student takes 12 or 15 hours and unfortunately may fail a course or drop some courses, if they haven't earned that full 24 by the end of the first year, then they're at risk of losing that TOPS scholarship. There are appeal processes with the state if it's an extenuating circumstance, but this is a great opportunity for students. It has increased access to higher education for our students in the state. That said, it's also a lot of pressure. I personally was a part-time student, and non-traditional took me 11 years. But I was able to balance that. But if I were to have to be a full-time student and a wife and all the other things, put myself through school, it would have been a lot more challenging. So the pressure to be full-time, to maintain a certain GPA, and to earn those credits and not risk losing. The risk of losing your aid is so much pressure for our students. So the emotional stress is there too, to adhere to that.
One of the things that we've really focused on in the last few years has been the mental health crisis. We see it in middle school, high school, and on college campuses. Talk about what you have seen and what you think, what you're doing to address it.
Certainly. My former role was in counseling, so I can tell you firsthand experience over several years of working with students. A lot of them, particularly those who are first-generation students, or maybe they have a lot of other pressures and it kind of becomes a barrier to them asking for help. Sometimes they don't have help, a support system, or they're scared to ask for help, or they're scared of the let's say if they want to tell their parents that they're struggling, they're scared of disappointing their parents, that kind of thing. So there's a lot of various fears there, and often they won't come to something like counseling until they are at risk for losing their financial aid. So they may have struggled their first semester, this is the story I see, a common story. They maybe got below a 2.0, failed a couple of classes, didn't seek support at that time, and then their second semester, I think they think they're going to recover. They try, but they don't get the new skills to figure out what they need to do differently or what's going on in their life that they need some support with. And then they would, after the last day to drop a course, show up to counseling, which at that point it's crisis management. It's helping them accept where they are. It's not the end of the world. This happens to a lot of people. It's okay. It doesn't mean you're a failure. Kind of reframing these things, but also getting them through the facts of, okay, you may lose your aid. So what are we going to do next? What lessons can we learn, and how can we move forward? For a lot of them, we lose them, and they may come back 10 years later, who knows? But at that time, that first year is very pivotal, because if they have success versus failure, that's may define who they are and their abilities, even though we know they are all capable with the right environment and the right support system to achieve their goals.
One other thing that we heard along the way in talking to a lot of different people in higher education is that sometimes it can be just really little things, what we would call little things, that just can completely trip people up. And we've talked with some other folks at LSU Shreveport and also from Bossier Parish Community College, talking about what they do to support these things like, the car broke, and no money to fix it, have to go back to work, have to abandon your education because of it. What are y'all doing at LSU Shreveport for that kind of issue?
That's really exciting. I'm not directly involved with it, but I can tell you our Dean of Students, Dr. Paula Atkins, is overseeing a lot of our basic needs initiatives. And we have the food pantry. I know you're aware of that. I listened to the podcast with Chancellor Smith yesterday, or whatever day that was, last week, right? Mm-hmm. And we got the campus free hunger designation, hunger free campus designation. But she is working really hard to expand those needs into, she has something called a share center. So Single Stop is a way that it's a platform that students can apply for other support, and we get them connected to resources either on or off campus. So we're kind of trying to look at childcare, housing insecurity, other food insecurity, but there's also emergency loans available. We work with the foundation a bit, so a student may have a particular situation and they need to pay their rent. So there's an application process and an interview process for that, but we're looking to expand that. So Dr. Atkins is really working on that in a lot of ways, and that's kind of in the seminal stages.
And one thing, we were talking to people that are now starting kind of a one-stop shop for kind of the social services related for people in the K through 12 world. I mean, I can't see why there can't be a significant collaboration there between these are the same problems that a little bit older families are having as younger people are having too. Whether we could put those one-stop shops together and kind of work together toward finding the kind of resources for the students. I think when I hear about these things, it's really exciting to me, because I think these are things that really the community wants to see happen. They don't want to see people not be able to reach their potential because of a little thing like that could be fixed if someone knew about it. So applaud your efforts.
Yeah.
And I know it's got to be one of those things that really brings help to a lot of kids at LSU Shreveport, who live here. And these are the students that are going to probably stay here, and the ones that we need to invest in here. And I know that's what you're doing.
It's true, and I think it comes down to we never want a student's decisions weighed on, do I go to class or do I pick up a shift at work? Do I go to class or do I stay home with my child because I don't have childcare? We don't want that to be the situation, but it often is. And if we can do anything to help them in any regard, that's what we're going to try to do with limited resources, but we're working with lots of partners to increase those opportunities. The other things we're doing that are related to that, and our librarians are phenomenal. They've been doing this for a few years, trying to figure out ways to have open educational resources for like free textbooks. We have learning platforms that are very costly, and we worked last year to waive that cost to the students for all our college algebra students, for example, because the platform cost $100 or something. So we're working in lots of other ways to keep the burden, the financial burden on the students decreased.
That's great. I know you deal a lot in retention. And then you had sent me some information on the Gardner Transformation Project, and sounded very complex, a lot of things involved in it. Can you tell us a little bit about the Gardner Transformation Project and how that's going to unfold at LSU Shreveport?
That is very exciting. I'm in deep with that. The Gardner Institute's been around for about 25 years. It's a nonprofit that focuses on increasing social justice and equity in higher education. I mean, that's what they do. I was fortunate enough to meet John Gardner himself at a couple of conferences, and his CEO, Andrew Koch, contacted me and wanted to meet with me about this special project that they had going on. And they had their first cohort of institutions, and they had already had 10 colleges across the country committed, and they wanted us to be the 11th. And there is a cost, but it's partially grant funded, so it's about half what it would be for the services that they provide. So I brought it to our administration. They were excited about it, and we signed on with them. And so for the past 6 months, we have been part of this initial cohort, and it's a long name. It's Transforming the Foundational Post-Secondary Experience, I think is the name of it. It's a 5-year project with several phases. We just finished our sense-making phase, which is the first 6 months of assessing our campus culture, surveying people on campus, having lots of strategy sessions, discussion sessions, focus groups with students. And what has come out of the first 6 months, we have now got our strategic prioritization for the next 5 years, which includes focusing on equity, learning and teaching, pedagogy, how to teach students in a way that they can learn. We have our academic advising. We're going to probably redesigning some of those programs, the emergency aid and basic needs initiatives. Gosh, the pathways, career pathways, you name it. We have a whole plan in place. I'm currently in an equity and retention academy with them. It's a 5-week intensive, and it's intensive. We're evaluating everything on our campus, our policies, our practices, our mission statement, but through an equity lens, and figuring out where are we missing the mark.
And it sounds like really a complete transformation project, like it's named. You're looking at every part of how you do business as it relates to a university, and it sounds like it's against the idea that really making more attractive, in our case, I think it's making more attractive university for the metro students that really are our key market at LSUS.
Absolutely. You say transformation. I mean, that's what it is. We are a transformation team. We have a transformation leadership team, and we have multiple other transformation teams under that. And I should say, too, that Gardner looked at us because we fit a particular type of campus that they wanted. And what that is a historically white institution with at least 25% underrepresented students, and we fit that. And they want to increase equity and outcomes for all underrepresented, underserved populations. And what we are doing, higher education was designed as a system with a different type of student in mind. And we are trying to change the system, and it's a very difficult, because change is hard, and you can't just change one person at a time or ask someone to change what they do and how they do it. We have to work together, get everybody's input, help everyone understand, and that's when you look at the data.
Yeah.
We've had an opportunity this past year with our first-time freshmen for Fall 23's cohort. I can tell you we disaggregated data. When you disaggregate it based on race and ethnicity, first-gen status, Pell status, you get a different picture. And we were able to say there wasn't a statistically significant difference on the success outcomes based on race or ethnicity, which was just good to see. If we did see that, we would accept it and figure out how to work with that. But what we did see is there was a statistically significant factor if they were first-gen, and even more significant if they were first-gen and a Pell recipient. So we are working on some programs around that, lots of first-generation initiatives to support students, and that's changing a lot of our practices and processes.
So y'all are instituting some of these changes in order to be more attractive and to do more for the first-generation students.
Yeah, to help them succeed and believe in themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just looking at it, just your thoughts on how do you look at it and say, this is what I think LSUS should be doing or has been doing to be more attractive to the first generation students and to the metro area, which is the area that truly LSU Shreveport mainly serves. It's not a residential university. It's a university in a large metropolitan area. And from the perspective of people here in the community, that's the key, is having a comprehensive university there that has people ready to go to work when they finish. So talk a little bit about that career readiness and what you're doing as it relates to that?
Gosh, I can start with mentoring. That's kind of one piece of it. I think it's important for first generation students to see themselves in someone that they can mentor. So there's 3 layers of mentor programs that we're kind of starting to roll out. We have started with peer mentors that are embedded in our first year seminar course, which is a required transition course. And they meet with those peer leaders at least twice in the semester, one-on-one, as well as being embedded in the course to support them. We have, with our First Gen initiatives, we have a new, fairly new First Gen Honor Society, and so people inducted into that, we have faculty and staff. We can put alum in there as well, and then our peers. So if you're interested, I don't know if you're First Gen, you don't have to be First Gen, but and then we're going to work with our alumni association too to try to build up where we have faculty, staff, First Gen mentors, the peer mentors, but also alum First Gen mentors.
Listen, we really appreciated the conversation, learned a lot. You know, I know that it's LSU Shreveport is a key to the future of Shreveport-Bossier and how LSU Shreveport goes. A lot of how Shreveport is going to be going in the future. So we really do appreciate the work you're doing to try to meet the needs and develop career opportunities and develop the mentality for people to work here in Shreveport. So thank you very much for your time, for your effort, and what you're doing at LSU Shreveport. We thank you.
Thank you for having me.
All right, and thank you for joining us for Education Checkup. You can view our other podcasts anywhere you listen to them or go to our website at ktbs.com/podcast. Have a good day and be sure to join us next time for Education Checkup.